what about even withholding affection? Like maybe with one child, they're like, oh, they're praising them and giving all the praise, and then the other one, it seems like they always find stuff wrong.
Right. So it could show up in a lot of different ways. I mean, if let's say the child has something exciting happening in their lives, and so now they're really excited about it and voicing that, and maybe a little bit bubbly, whatever.
Yeah.
That angry parent or a narcissistic parent will, sometimes be, well, calm down. You're getting on my nerves or whatever. And so just,
Right.
Just expressing things in a way that, is meant to suppress the joy, meant to suppress whatever it is that's excitement, ruin that for the kid, ruin that for everybody, really,
Hey everyone, my name is Tyler King, and this is my co-host Karen Maldonado, and we are back for our podcast, Narcissist, I'm Asking for a Friend. Now, just so you know, we are not a narcissist bashing community here. What we do is we try to help the people who are in those relationships navigate through them in a healthy way. So we come at it from a Christian perspective. So we want to have a loving approach to it and a way to help people to learn, how do I navigate through these tough relationships, whether it's be with the spouse, significant other, family member, friend, whoever. So Karen, we have a great topic today, and you found something that I said, oh man, we really need to touch on this. And it is in regards to when you have grown up in a household for your entire life, and the only thing you knew was a narcissistic parent. Like, you didn't know what it was at the time, because you were just like thinking, what is going on here? You were just like in a tornado. But then when you become an adult, you're like, oh man, this was like a crazy relationship that we had here. And then even as an adult, you still see them trying to manipulate you as an adult. So Karen, what can you share with our listeners, and what we can do about this? What knowledge can you shed on this? And being from, former marriage and family therapist and having that experience and background.
Sure. So, one thing as you were talking that, stuck out in my mind too about, manipulation, you used that word. And so I kind of think of it as, kids growing up with a narcissistic parent, they're groomed by that parent. Whether the parent is even aware of the fact that they're grooming them. I mean, usually the narcissist is just going day by day, manipulating people as they
Right.
feel the need to, and so, but they'll oftentimes, and I think we've talked about this a little bit too, how they'll use one parent against another, target one parent.
Yes.
And then, that then causes that kid then to feel like, well, if I don't go in the direction that the narcissistic parent wants me to,
right,
there's going to be a price to pay for that.
Ooh, yes, a heavy price. And just to clarify, when you say one parent against the other, this does not necessarily mean that this is a divorce relationship or a situation. This could be them in the same household together, married, not even contemplating divorce, and this is happening, right?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, just an, scenario could be that there's an argument going on between the parents and the kids are just listening. And then the parent that's the targeted or abused parent, that one, speaks up for themselves a little bit.
Right.
And then the narcissist says, that's not the way that it happened, or that's not what I said, or that's not what you said, right? There's question now to the reality of what happened, right? So now you have this little voice of a child that heard the whole thing, and now that little voice speaks up and says, no, mommy, that's not what daddy said. I heard it and he said this. Or no, daddy, that's not what mommy said, or that's not what you said. This is what happened. Now, the narcissist does not like to be told they're wrong.
Right.
And so now this person validates the other parent, the one that's being accused, right?
Right.
That's a no-no. So, now, okay, that parent might get angry at that moment and say that they're both crazy or whatever he wants to say, so that, or she wants to say, to make it so that they don't have to apologize, they don't have to own up to the fact that they're wrong.
Right.
And now, a little while later, the abused parent goes out, has to go shopping or whatever. That parent, that's the narcissist, is home now with maybe a couple of the kids, maybe they're teenagers or whatever, or old enough to be in the house by themselves. And so he might say to one of the other siblings, let's go get ice cream. And that other one, says, oh, I want to go too. No, you're not going. You you dishonored me, or you betrayed me, or you disobeyed me, or you whatever he wants to say or she wants to say, so that child is groomed now. You don't do that. Even if you know what the truth is, you don't speak it. And so, so there's a punishment. The punishment might come in the form of being left out of something. It might not be a blatant, smack or something like that. It might just be, no, you're going to learn. You're not going to stick up for that parent. So that's really what the whole goal now is, to isolate that targeted parent from any sense of reality and make them constantly question themselves. And these children are growing up under this roof with this person that says, you're going to do things my way and only my way. And so now they have a hard time also, as they get older, sometimes thinking for themselves.
Right.
They've been controlled. And so now they tend to be attracted to people that are going to tell them what to do. So then that's how they end up in a narcissistic relationship, because they're groomed to follow whatever the narcissist says. So, it's all part of the thing, is the reality, the gaslighting that goes on, all that.
Yes.
The person that, thinks that they know what's going on, and all of a sudden they have to start questioning themselves.
Yes.
And now you think about it too, the parent that's targeted, they start to see the kids pulling back from helping them in an argument like that, right?
Yes, exactly.
So now that targeted parent's also questioning, well, no one's sticking up for me this time, which means maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I heard it wrong. Maybe it's me. So it's all about questioning your reality, losing your own identity, losing your voice. And for the same thing happens to the kids too. So, trying to figure out how to do life with this person.
Right.
A big challenge. So, being with a narcissist can also, what are some of the benefits? It's not too many, but
are there benefits?
You're thinking spiritually, because we are coming from a Christian perspective, that person really forces you to start to think about becoming really patient. If you're going to stay in that situation, you have to have a lot of patience.
A lot of patience.
And so you'll have a lot of patience with that person. You'll have a lot of patience with other people too, because that spiritual muscle, so to speak, of patience is being built up inside of you. So you will tolerate more things. I'm not saying it's necessarily good for you, but you'll tolerate more things.
And this is the spouse and the children. You're saying that they both build this up.
They do, but there's a, it could be a problem for that though too, because now, the kids and the abused spouse, they're getting so used to just placating to every whim that the narcissist has, that they don't move any long on their own volition. They're constantly second guessing themselves, and
they lose their identity and individuality. It's like it just kind of goes.
It goes, yeah. So and that can make you sad. That can make because if that that's the kind of life that you're living, then so yep, you might be more patient, but you also might be a little more depressed, because that part of you that you want to have coming out isn't allowed to come out. And
it's
then
closed in. It's closed in, so you can't really express yourself the way you want to. So you're really almost dying inside. I mean, you're living, but you're literally dying inside, because you can't ever express the way how you truly feel. Right. Now, for a child, like growing up in that environment, right? So the parent will do something like take the other child out for ice cream, or what about even withholding affection? Like maybe with one child, they're like, oh, they're praising them and giving all the praise, and then the other one, it seems like they always find stuff wrong. So like, how can it manifest in that way, where the child now these are people that are adults now trying to figure this out, what happened to them,
Yeah.
What are some examples of the withholding of affection and affirmations, and how that can even play into their adult life and how they're going to make bad decisions in their future mate?
Right. So it could show up in a lot of different ways. I mean, we talked I think last couple of segments ago, we were talking about the bursting of the bubble.
Yes.
Don't be too happy because they don't like to see that. They're gonna, want to bring you down a notch, right? So
Right.
if, let's say, the child that stuck up for mom or dad last time
Mm-hmm.
now has something exciting happening in their lives, and so now they're really excited about it and voicing that, and maybe a little bit bubbly or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
that angry parent or a narcissistic parent will, sometimes be, well, calm down, you're getting on my nerves or whatever. And so just,
Right.
just expressing things in a way that, is meant to suppress the joy, meant to suppress whatever it is that's excitement, ruin that for the kid, ruin that for everybody, really. Let's not
Right.
get too excited because you're too happy right now, and I'm not happy to see that because I'm still mad at you about sticking up for your parent when we were arguing. And so there's little ways, it's like unspoken,
Mm-hmm.
but it's almost like, okay, I get what's going on here. The kids are smart.
Yeah.
They
Of
know,
course.
oh, I know
Yeah.
what I did wrong. I'm still paying that price because he hasn't or she hasn't been nice to me since then. So
Yeah.
I'm still paying for that. So it could be very subtle, but
Mm-hmm.
so it's not something where there's been a lecture maybe,
Exactly.
but
Right.
it's, you're gonna learn this, kid, so, and then that makes the child feel like they're very conditionally loved, right? There's no unconditional love here. It's performance-based acceptance. But every kid wants to be accepted by their parent.
Of
So
course.
now
Yeah.
they're going to work extra hard to get back into the good graces of that parent.
Yeah. It's like a
And
natural instinct to want to be loved by your parent and to be affirmed by them. So that's why it comes naturally. It's
yeah,
not something you manufacture. So that's ingrained in them. And when you talked about them just kind of bursting the bubble, right? When we went to that, now how does that play out now when they're an adult? Like I always wonder about people that like say, "Oh, you're too happy, you're too this," or "What are you so happy about?" I always kind of wonder about those people that they're kind of have narcissistic tendencies. So what happens when they're now an adult? Are they kind of still operating in that same way like a child, where they just kind of maybe even are afraid to express their excitement about
right.
something going on in their life?
Well, so no matter how old we get, our
Mhm.
parents are people that we've always wanted to get some type of, when good things happen, we want to go to them and tell them. When bad things
Yeah,
happen, we want to go to them and tell. They're the people that we would go to, right?
yeah,
So it's natural to want also, just approval when we accomplish something,
yeah,
just encouragement, or wow, wow, I'm so proud of you. To see here, I'm proud of you from a parent. That's
right.
love. And so, adults will often still look for validation from their parents. And so if, let's say, there's been some kind of family drama, you're talking about older kids, right? So now
Yeah,
maybe there's been some kind of drama created in a recent wedding, let's just say. One of the kids got married, so one of the siblings is, you know, is the ostracized one at this moment. So they're the one that's, so, whatever the narcissistic parent may say, well, we're going to go celebrate afterwards, but we don't have enough tickets or whatever. It's like, oh, it's something, to some type of variable to leave out, to
yes,
make them feel like, so there's always a way for the narcissist to feel like they've succeeded at singling out that one, so that they know you're not really in my good graces right now. I'm
yeah.
pleased with you. So
Yeah, it makes me think back on something when I was younger, and I remember showing my mom's, like the grades. How you have the honor roll, they have all these little things that you can get in school that show different accomplishments, achievements, and I just remember her not like being supportive about it and just like, oh, like whatever, like it wasn't a big deal. And the way how I internalized it was, I was like, well, what's the point of really even trying to go this hard? It's like, I just kind of was like, whatever, when it came to school. And I noticed that my grades had a decline, it had a drop, whereas I had it in a good place. But like you said, if they are not happy with themselves and they have those narcissistic traits and tendencies, they don't want to see anybody else happy, even if it's something that could, funny enough, something that they could actually even brag about and be proud of because of
Yes.
something you accomplished, they will still try to burst the bubble. So it's like,
Yeah.
we just want to make this real for people. And if you've experienced this, put a me in the chat, put some, emojis, like raise your hand, whatever, comment, share this, because we want to make sure people know what's going on. So Karen, like, go elaborate more as far as for what do you now do as a parent? Now you have been in this, dynamic for so long as a child. Now you're trying to parent. How does this happen? Do you tend to become maybe like a narcissistic type of parent, or you like, how does that work now when you become an adult? How do you manage your children?
Right. Well, it is whatever's modeled before you could be learned behavior.
Right.
Whatever's modeled before you could be that thing that you run from. So it just depends on what you are, looking at in the situation. So some people, when they have some kind of dysfunction in their home of their family of origin,
right,
they say, well, I am never going to do that. And so hopefully that is what we come out with having a narcissist.
Do you make a vow? Don't they say not to make vows? That's like the worst thing you can do.
Well, if the vow that you're making to yourself is to yourself, then it's I mean, for myself, I had some things in my family of origin that I said, well, I'm just never going to do that, and I don't.
Right.
And so, but there are some things in my family of origin that were very good things, and I said, I'm going to incorporate that into what I do in my life.
Right.
So I think we can all, learn from our family of origin, good and bad, and we can make decisions that tell us, which is the better for my family now that I'm raising. Is it going to be better for my kids to feel unconditional love,
right,
and not grow up having this performance-based acceptance where they're constantly anxious to make sure that they meet my approval? Or is it better for me to teach them that I love you no matter what you do, whether you get the grades or you don't get the grades,
right,
whether you are good all the time or you're not good all the time. I love you because of who you are. And that's, of course, what we all hunger for. We all hunger for unconditional love, which is, we get that from the Lord, right?
That's right.
And so, that's put inside of us, this knowing that we want to be loved. And then if you're raised by somebody that makes you feel like you're not worthy to be loved, then that, can put you in a big, there's denial now, because in the denial of being raised in that, you have to come to terms with something. One of two things. My parent is incapable of loving me. And that's a hard thing to accept.
It is very hard.
Be easier to accept. I'm not completely worthy of love from my parent. It's easy to accept that, because then you can put the blame on yourself and not put it on this parent. So they can't help they can't help it. They can't love me, because sometimes I do. It's easier to do that than to say my parent is totally incapable of loving.
And is it the reason why it's so hard to accept that is because you see other parents and children in their relationships and you're wondering, why don't I have that? And then you just say, well, I must be the problem. There must be something wrong with me, because this is how every family I see, the parents and the children, they love each other. They give each other hugs. They encourage one another, but I don't get that.
Yes.
So, and that is something. And, I will say that, if you've been in that dynamic and you've had a parent like that, I will say, I understand about not saying you won't ever do that, but you got to watch that fine line, because in the word, you don't want to judge. So judge not, lest ye be judged by the same measure. And you can actually have a cycle of things happening in your life. You ever seen the guy that is in a single parent home and says, oh, my dad wasn't there, I'll never be like him, I'll never do the things he did. And then next thing you know, he has children, and then he's the absent father as well. So he's condemned his father so much, and then he ended up doing the same thing. So it's almost like you got to have that fine line there to, where are you in your heart wise when you're saying these things, and
Right.
getting that you need. Now, if someone was in that, do you recommend, hey, seeing a counselor, seeing a therapist? Like, what do you recommend as far as them getting help? And maybe how do they recognize, hey, I need help right now. I need to go see somebody.
Right. Definitely. I think it's great for every person to seek counseling at some point, especially
Yeah.
we all come from some sort of dysfunction.
Yes.
So for me, like the things I said that, I knew I would not incorporate that into my family that I was raising. And then there were things that I would incorporate. Well, there's no perfect family, right? And I'm
Right.
sure my kids growing up probably said, well, I'll make sure that I'm not going to incorporate that into what I do with my kids.
Right.
But,
Exactly.
but I'm going to incorporate these other things because these things were good. So, if you walk around with this attitude where you're angry and bitter about it and there's no forgiveness, that's not what I'm talking about. You want to
Right.
forgive those things of the past that were dysfunctional in your family, that if they need forgiving from you. But you also want to be grateful for those things that were great, right? So, and that's in every family, every single family. There's some sort of thing that you wish that if you could go back in time, could be a do-over. But we don't get that, right?
Right.
Thank God that he gives us second chances, third chances, fourth chances, right?
That's right.
And we want to be more like Jesus. And so if people are repentant and want to be in relationship with us, we do need to give that.
That's right.
As adults, I would say even adults with narcissistic parents, you need to forgive them. You need to
Yes.
do life with them until and if that person is getting to the point where their engagement with you is completely abusive and you cannot anymore do it. You have to create a boundary.
That's right.
And then, that boundary can be there, but you also have to have it in your heart that you will lift that boundary at any moment when that person, comes to their senses, whatever that
Right.
like.
They've proven themselves.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And the boundary is for your safety, right? For your emotional, your mental health,
yes,
and it's for you.
yes, it
And
is
they may not like it. Just so you
right.
know, they might not like it. They may push back against it, but it's important that you keep that firm boundary, because if you don't, how will they ever take you seriously? How will they ever change? So you could be actually enabling them to continue in that same behavior, but you don't hold your boundary in, distancing yourself, whether it be maybe limiting conversations, not visiting as much, not entertaining certain things, changing the subject when it starts to go south. So those are some things that you could do.
Yes, very good. All good points there, Tyler. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So any last things that you want to tell our listeners, viewers, that they're coming into that realization, like, man, I did not realize that whole time in my childhood I had a narcissistic parent. After hearing us talk today, you're coming into that realization. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to end up doing this to my kids. What last words do you have to help them? Maybe a word of encouragement or some type of way they can navigate now.
Well, I think one of the key points I wanted to make sure that we got out today was denial of the fact that there was any type of narcissistic abuse. You don't need to deny that it happened.
Right.
In your mind, if the abuse made you feel like you were not worthy of love, deny that, because you are worthy of love.
That's right.
The Lord loves you, and there are a lot of people in your life that will love you. A person with mental illness like that, narcissism,
Right.
they're not able to love you the way that, somebody without that condition could. And so being ready to forgive that situation, but knowing it's not you, it's not me, it's the narcissism. If they didn't have that, they would be able to love me more. I don't have to be in denial that all those things that happened over the years happened. They did happen, but I also want to forgive them. And forgiveness will be whatever it is that I believe the Lord is leading it to look like, but
That's
letting
right.
it go, not wanting it to be held against them on their account, but then also figuring out and asking the Lord to give you guidance on what kind of boundaries you need to set up so that you can still possibly do life with them. If
That's right.
if they're very unhealthy to be around and there needs to be no contact. That's in rare cases. I mean, usually, I say to most of my clients, as long as it's not, so unhealthy that they're causing constant drama, then
Right.
I would say try to forgive and, of course, keep a healthy boundary, whatever that might. It looks different in every situation, so I don't really want to get specific about that. But yeah, but just be ready to have a heart of forgiveness.
Yeah, that's right. And, seek the Holy Spirit and the guidance in the way how you should navigate. Pray about it before you make the call, whatever you need to do or have that interaction. It'll help you with making wise and decisions as far as your interactions that will not cause you any further pain, because we want to make sure that you're emotionally healthy and well. Well,
Right.
thank you all for listening and tuning in. And remember, don't keep this to yourself. If this has changed your life, if this has been helpful to you, or if you know someone that's going through this, just go ahead and share it with them. Let them know what's going on. Tell them about, what we're doing. And if you've been trying to talk to them and they haven't been listening to you, just share it with them and they'll open it when it's time and they'll be able to get that revelation for themselves. Well, thank you all for listening. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And my name is Tyler King and my co-host Karen Maldonado. We're here with the podcast Narcissist. I'm asking for a friend, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye.